Hey everyone, Cary here with Cary Kolat, presented by Rudis. Hey, if you have questions, please post them at the bottom of the of this video, or you can tweet them at me or tweet them at Rudis, or obviously email and they'll get them to me. The question I had this week was, how do I make wrestling fun? And I've stated that I approached it as a job. So how do I balance wrestling and now balance it with coaching to keep it fun for my guys? And I think job is a term we use, right? And so I think job puts a negative thought in people's head sometimes. And I think when I say job, what I meant to say is, for me, I approached it as a job, but it's like me if you have a meeting with the boss, right? If you have a meeting with the boss, you're going to show up 10 minutes early. You're going to be organized. You're going to be ready to go. Your boss says get something done, you make sure it gets done. That was my approach, to wrestling. Was very organized, very professional about it. Ready to go, showing up early, staying late, having the travel, organized, having my bag packed, days in advance in case so I make sure I wouldn't forget anything. That was my approach to it. It doesn't mean I didn't have fun at it. And then when I was done with college and actually got paid to do what I love to do, it was awesome. So job is a descriptive word. I think it denotes negativity in most people's minds because I don't think they're doing something that they really do enjoy. For me, I enjoyed it, and it was just a term. But it doesn't mean I enjoyed every aspect about it, right? And look, I'm sure there's days people wake up and just wish they could stay in bed and not have to go in, but you got a job to do. And for me, like training, I loved training. I loved going in and some days just really killing myself. But that doesn't mean I was enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it really until I was in the battle of doing it, in the heat of doing it at the time. And then a lot of times it was racing to the finish line. I might have been competing with a training partner. Maybe it was bike sprints. Maybe it was drills, whatever it may be. And I always used to tell people, I used to have to get myself really worked up for training sessions because I knew how hard I was going to go, and that it's taxing, it's wearing. I don't think anybody ever really enjoys training. It's especially when you're going in to do a hard one. But as you get better and as you get older and as you get smarter, you start to learn to play wrestle a little bit more. How to break wrestling down where you can go in and enjoy it and still be learning and still be training and still be wrestling and working in areas you need to work in. Play wrestle is a big part of that. I think there's a lot of kids. There's so many kids that are controlled. They're controlled by their coaches. They're controlled by their parents. They never break away. In the term that they're invested in their own training, right? You can only guide somebody so long, right? If you continue to guide someone, they can't start to think on their own. So you can't go in and yell reps out every day with a group of young men. Like I coach college guys now, and you can't treat them like little kids. You treat them like little kids, you're going to get little kids on the mat. For us, exactly. Yesterday was we had a setback last week as a program. It was one of our first slip-ups of the season, and we came back in. We trained the next day, and then yesterday was an on their own day. I went in, and they actually were all playing games. Well, they always play some kind of game before practice. They were playing games, and we had another group down on the other side, and I actually jumped in the games. I typically watch. I don't really get in them. And then I got in them yesterday, and everybody was enjoying themselves. And so, I just felt like it was a day that they just needed to just have a lot of fun, And so I told them, I said, here's the deal. Well, if you want to play games, you play down on this side of the room. We got a new room. It's big. So your other group, you play your game down on this side. And the middle mat is for guys who want to train, who want to drill, who want to play wrestle and do stuff. And they have priority. If they need more mat space, slide your game down further. And that's what we did. And I just felt like my guys needed it. And as a coach, that's when you gotta be the coach. You gotta know when to gauge it. You gotta know when they need kicked in the butt. And you need to know when, hey, I need to back off and let them go enjoy themselves and have some fun. And the biggest thing you can do is stop holding their hand every time. You have to give a guy a set areas of this is where we train as a group. And then you gotta walk away from it sometimes and say, okay, let this guy initiate it on his own. If I was coaching high school, You know, it's a little different in high school. The high school, you got a mix of guys. Some guys are going to continually need refocused on positions and reps and fundamentals and getting better and better, right? Because they just don't have it. And then you might have one high-level guy. But then a lot of times that high-level guy can't just go with one guy. He's got to go with multiple people. So, you know, part of that question, too, was how would I differentiate between high school and college? Well, man, there's actually a big difference. If you're at a normal, everyday public school wrestling program, your variety of kids that you have in your team are so different that the training has to be different. It has to. You can't train the way we train. Just because you have beginners and guys in the middle and maybe one high-level guy. If you're at maybe a private school where they can recruit, if you're at a Blair or Sam or something like that, that's a different kid. You know, those coaches can change their training up a little different. That kid's been around the block. He's been to high level events. He's probably been around high level guys. He's probably attended a training camp at the Olympic Training Center or something like that. So it's a different kind of kid, and wrestling's a little different up there, and so they can run the room probably different than you can. But it doesn't mean there isn't days they don't come in and say today's a fun day. At a college program, there's got to be a day we come in and say today's a fun day. At a college program, you have to let guys start training themselves and monitor and jump in when you need to jump back into it. Public school variety of programs, you're probably going to do more controlled situations, but it doesn't mean you don't come in and have the fun day. So wrestling for me, the word job does not denote a negative thought in my mind. That was just how I approached it, but I still loved it. If the kid doesn't love it, then you're going to really start seeing it. You'll start seeing it in their wrestling and their attitude and their training. For a program, though, at the high school level, you make sure you have your base. Maybe you write it down on the wall. You have your base of training where you need to be going, where they need to be working, and then you have your days that you break out and have fun. And in a college program, it's kind of the same thing. It's we have our base, and then we have our days that we break out and we have fun and enjoy it. But so that's my approach to it. Anyway, if you have questions, like I said, post them at the bottom of this video. Please, tweet them at me or tweet them at Rudis or send them to Rudis, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Enjoy the conversations and just keep them coming. Have a good night.